Introduced into the congressional record in 1963 were the 45 Goals of Communism, which were designed to function as a laying out of a communist agenda to infiltrate the United States on a cultural platform in hopes of reshaping and thus destroying it from the inside out. Since then, America itself has succumbed to various degrees of communist as well as totalitarian tendencies all on its own. But many of these goals written over half a century ago still remain poignant to this day as lessons in retaining and beating back societal decay caused by moral relativism. But there were two in particular that really stood out to me, and that was number 22, stated as continuing to discredit American culture by degrading all forms of artistic expression. An American communist cell was told to, quote, eliminate all good sculpture from parks and buildings and substitute shapeless, awkward, and meaningless forms, end quote. And the next one, number 23, which was stated as to control art critics and directors of art museums. Quote, our plan is to promote ugliness, repulsive, and meaningless art, end quote. I remember being introduced to the accumulated works of Picasso at a very young age, and the immediate reaction I had was one of confusion, seeing as how I'd seen other works of art that could convey to the viewer immediately and effortlessly exactly why they were works of art. I couldn't understand why the Picasso, devoid of any appreciable technical accomplishment, was considered to be a work of art, and I knew immediately that there must be some historical or cultural significance to the painting that conferred onto it its value. This is to say that human beings have in them an ingrained ability to recognize value arising especially from human endeavor that espouses both creative and technical ability. Viewing Salvador Dali's Galatia of the Spheres, we take in the sight of equidistant spheres which portray as the sum of their parts an image of Dali's wife Gala. And we also know intrinsically that a painting such as this requires not only great creativity, but great powers of spatial awareness and an intimate knowledge of how the human body moves in 3D space, as well as technical and mathematical ability in order to first create this painting in the mind and then reproduce it by hand on a piece of canvas. We're able to gauge instantly the technical and creative costs of the aesthetic beauty in this painting, and we don't need to be told that this is a great work of art. The person that created it is irrelevant in terms of determining whether or not it has artistic value. The visual stimulation comes from the work of art and not the artist himself. If Dali was not the author of this painting, whoever did create it would still be credited for having had created a work of art. If Picasso, however, didn't create his works, then they would almost certainly not be hanging in museums, and they most certainly would not fetch the admiration of wealthy private collectors. We have art that is valuable according to ingrained visceral standards of appreciation from the perspective of most human observers. And we have then the other completely artificially valued works of art that only are works of art because enough of those considered to be authorities on the subject agree that it is in fact a work of art. This is what we call artistic relativism, implying that there is in fact an intrinsic combination of elements that elicit aesthetic and artistic pleasure in the human psyche. Yet there exists also a process by which those preferences can be skewed and even eliminated altogether. So a communist agenda, regardless of America's own deviations from what is universally valuable art, would seek to implement awkward and meaningless forms as art in order to delude an instinct for the recognition of truly valuable works. Now, the purpose of what follows should not be confused with a desire from me to tell others what morality is or isn't, but to ask the question of whether or not there exists some primordial reasons for trends in the moral compass of human nature, and whether or not those trends can be diluted and eliminated much in the same way that art is, with either nefarious or benevolent intentions. It is at present a cultural breach of American etiquette to insinuate that an individual can come to individual conclusions on the meaning of immorality. We can take the statement, feminism is immoral. This statement does not imply the hatred of women, but you will be accused of misogyny or hatred of women for saying it. It should also be noted that saying this statement does not subject women to any violence, nor does it condone violence, either explicitly or implicitly. It's quite simply a potential belief among many that an individual person can come to when establishing his or her notion of what morality is, and is as valid as any other moral stance taken. Therefore, since different moralities are arrived at by different people, the best possible manifestation of morality should be arrived at in an environment where no one morality is given more of an institutionalized platform so that society can come to their own conclusion. meaning that all advocacy on the nature of morality should be removed from any communally funded institutions, much in the same way religion is separate from the state for essentially the same reasons. Many people might believe that a belief in God is immoral. This does not translate to a hatred of people that believe in God, and the belief that a belief in God is moral does not translate to a hatred of those that don't believe in God. Nevertheless, we've removed the belief in God from having any interaction with the state so that the public can make up their minds for themselves. We do, however, hypocritically allow many other ideologies and moralities to persist, and for the purposes of this video, in the form of an institutionalized feminist moral template. Why is it important to remove feminism from all aspects of the state? Well, my more recent subscribers may not have listened to the audio I took, so I'm going to replay to you an excerpt of a feminist domestic violence counselor that visited my taxpayer-funded university, billing hours that her social worker job compensates with taxpayer dollars, for her to tell us this.
Now, can men be raped? Okay. Legally, by definition, men cannot be raped. Rape is forced penetration vaginally. Men can be sodomized, and that is a form of sexual assault, okay? But legally, they cannot be raped. Let's see. Let's just do a few stats. Do you have any idea, can you think of one in how many women are sexually assaulted? Just one number.
25.
1 in 6 women are sexually assaulted. How many men? 33. 1 in 33 men. How many report the crime of sexual assault? Thoughts? Out of 100, yeah, percentage-wise. 60 do not report. Is that what you're saying? Yes. Exactly. 60% do not report.
Men cannot be raped, she said, if you didn't hear her clearly. She also said that 1 in 6 women are raped and 1 in 30-something men are comparatively. Conveniently, since, according to her, men cannot be raped, then she, of course, neglected to mention male prison rape. And this amounts to pure indoctrination any way you slice it. Now, I've just given a valid reason why religion should not be included in the school systems, yet it's clear to me that a belief in God, when arrived at without indoctrination, brings peace to many millions, perhaps billions of people. What good, however, can come from claiming that half of the human race is ineligible to be victimized by the crime of rape? None. How can these students subjected to this indoctrination and hateful sexism against men come to an independent conclusion on the morality of feminism when it is entrenched in the school system and funded by taxpayer dollars? Why is feminism allowed free rein to exist at the highest levels of education while telling us blatant lies? It's time for feminism to remove its hypocritical presence from the school systems for good. Rape is not a crime that can only happen to women. And if any feminist disagrees, then provide to me proof that no male has ever been raped, or admit that you have been spreading your misinformation and disgusting lies for decades now. The goal, to be clear, is complete separation of feminism and the state. We will not accept any other outcome at all. There are to be no negotiations. We call for the complete removal of feminism from the universities, the school systems, the family courts, so on and so forth, until it is crushed underfoot, because it is a vile, hateful ideology. It targets men for simply having the wrong anatomy. We are not here to negotiate with feminists. We want the complete removal of it, and we will not settle until we have it. That's all I have to say about it.